What's good, everybody? It's your boy Kirk Gray Smith. Y'all know what it is. So, man, I've been having to stop for a minute, and I actually shared this a few different times, a couple different groups, not too long ago. But I want to talk to y'all real quick about the scratching dog. So think about this for a minute. So like how you sit in a room and you have a dog, right? And the dog like scratching the door, scratching. And you tell the dog, stop it. So the dog stops scratching. And then he starts scratching again. A few hours later, stop it, stop scratching. You yell at the dog, he stops scratching. And this goes on for like a couple days, scratching, stop it. Dog don't even bark, he just, stop it. So then like the third day, he's no longer scratching. You're like, well, what's wrong with him? The dog's not scratching anymore. So you got two scenarios. So you open the door, and the dog died. Dog's passed away, starvation, whatever, it's dead. So you love your dog, right? So you panic. Oh my God. Scruffy, Ruffy, whatever you name your dog. And you're like, he's dead. Somebody call 911, somebody call SPCA, whatever. Try to revive him, do what you can, dog's dead, stiff, hard as a rock. Like stiff, just done. So then, you have a little ceremony for him, get a little picture of him, and everybody talks about what great of a dog you had. Dog was loyal, it was a good dog, and you talk about how much you loved the dog, and it was an amazing dog, and all of that. You bury it, and then you get a new dog. In fact, the sympathy pours out so much so over the loss of your dog, people start willing to give you a dog just like the one you lost. So you get a fresh new dog, and this dog's probably 7 or 8 when it died in regular human years, so it had a long life to live, but it's gone nonetheless. So now you get a new dog and you move on, and you and that dog have a happy life. Other scenario could be you open the door and you look down the hall, and your dog is over there eating from a different bowl, drinking water from another bowl. So your dog's eating and drinking and happy as whatever. So then you get upset and you're like, well, wait a minute. Where's my dog getting this food and water from? Because I didn't give it to him. So now you get upset at the dog. You're like, yo, Scruffy, Ruffy, why you drinking water and eating food from different bowls other than my bowls? You eating out somebody else. And then you get upset at the dog for eating elsewhere, but the dog couldn't stop thinking about the fact that for a few days it scratched on the door and you ignored it because it was hungry, so it had to eat. So now you're upset with the dog for where he's eating from. So now you want to not only ignore the dog, the scratching dog, you want to decide when and where he eats. You want to decide how this dog survives when you had every opportunity to feed him when he was scratching. He wasn't even barking. So then all of a sudden the dog goes silent. Now you got a problem. Now you worry. Now you concerned. And then you discover that the dog was being fed and his thirst was being quenched elsewhere, and you upset. So who's to blame? You or the dog? So then what you do, you yell at the dog. You can't understand where he's drinking from and eating from because he seems to be satisfied, so that makes you mad. So you grab the dog by the collar, you drag the dog back in on the other side of the door, and you lay out your own bowl of food and a bowl of water, and then you expect the dog to keep drinking and eating from your bowl. So you put it out there and walk away, and only to notice that it looks as if nobody's drinking the water and nobody's eating the food, because the dog done walked off and went back to eating to where he was eating before when you found him. But the reality is that the dog got used to eating somewhere else. The dog ain't gonna forget when he was starving, somebody else gave him something to drink and something to eat. And he even asked for it. They just noticed that he was hungry. Somebody walked up to him and said, hey, little doggy, you look hungry. You look parched. Let me give you something to eat and give you something to drink. So the dog took advantage because the dog was thirsty and the dog was hungry. And it had to be fed and its thirst had to be quenched. And it was taken care of and it was good. So now, even though you done slid out this bowl of water and this bowl of food, the dog's ignoring you now, going elsewhere. And now you want to blame the dog for what it did. And see, here's the thing though. Here's what you got to remember. The dog spelled backwards is God. And sometimes God will intervene when you ignore the dog and make sure the dog has what it needs. So because the dog's survival is more important to God than the source of its water and food. Because the main source, the source he intended the dog to drink and eat from, had no interest in him until they thought the dog was dead. And see, that's how people do us, don't they? We beg and we ask, pay attention to me, pay attention to what my needs are, our needs are. And the people that's supposed to love us and care for us ignore us. And we scratch and they tell us to stop scratching, stop complaining. And we scratch and they tell us again, they ignore us and they say, stop complaining. And then they get upset when we stop scratching because the itch has been satisfied somewhere else. And so now they get upset with us. So you want to decide when and where my source is to satisfy my thirst and my hunger. And then you want to get upset at whoever it is or whatever it is that's satisfying my thirst and my hunger. As if it's their fault. When you had every opportunity to pay attention to that scratching dog. So here's what I want to tell my warning to everybody out there. Just because you've been around a person for a long time, just because that's your husband or your wife, your longtime boyfriend or girlfriend, cousin, it don't matter what it is, sibling, if you keep ignoring them and ignoring them, after a while they're going to stop asking you for help. They're going to stop coming to you for their needs to be met, and they're going to find how to meet them somewhere else. And all I'm telling you is this, keep ignoring them and taking them for granted and assuming they're always going to be there and everything's going to be okay and they're going to stay loyal even to their own detriment. Keep believing that. And one day you're going to finally open that door and they won't be dead. They're going to be thriving somewhere else by some other means. And the only person you can blame is yourself. So, hey, pay attention to the scratching dog.